Hello everybody. So far, we have been able to register a user through email and password. And we can see that the user is actually ready in our console in the Firebase. It's time to verify if we can make this user signing to the application. Let's actually do that. So we use the create. Let's actually go to the documentation or Firefox. Go to the get started for web and the authentication piece. We open the web section and password authentication, the one that we're using right now. So we create the user with email and password. We did this part. Now it's time to sign in the user with email and password. There is a function inside the authorization of Firebase that you need to send the email and the password, and you will receive an error message or authenticate a user. So let's proceed. Going back to our code. We're going to open our store. And we have the register function. That's pretty much we're declaring creating the user, and we are assigning a photo URL. This actually is not working. So let me do something else for now. Let's actually do something like this. Router option base or this one. That means if this exists, it will say the element is not, we'll put the forward slash. That's it. So we keep it like that. So let's create a new function. It's going to be a synchronous function. It's always be good to have a synchronous function. So let's do const login. As you can see, I'm doing everything lowercase in order not to interfere with the other names that we have. So it's going to be equal asynchronous. And we're going to get email, password, and be sent to our application. Good. Now that we're doing that, we need to actually specify who are going to be handle the login section. Firebase told us that we need to use this, and we return something. So let's actually do let's do a try catch from the beginning, and let's see. Const signing, we are signing in the user, is going to be equal to await. I'm pasting what I have it. Firebase authorization signing with email and password. Email password. Oh, password is a typo here. Perfect. And then we're going to verify if this will return a user. Really similar when we sign up, if this return a user. So verify if the user object exists. If that's the case, we are going to return that particular user. And that's it. Nothing else. And we'll return the user. you need to call this element actually in the login action. In here, we're going to do something a little bit different. If else, let's do if payload dot use how can we say? We have the payload object and we are sending the user to here. We commit it. Then we can actually say if the payload exists, we're going to do this. So if we are sending the user to the login, that means that the user already in, we just let it in. But if not, we're going to do const user equal, and let's do this asynchronous in order to be able to use the await login. You know what? Let's actually do this. Let's actually change this order. Sorry for that. Let's put this in the bottom. Let's put this at the top, and we verify is the payload dot email and payload dot password exists. If this exists, that means that we're going to log in the user. If it doesn't exist, that means we sent the user before. So if that exists, we're going to say the user, await login, send in the payload email and the payload password. I have an extra comma here that I need to remove. And actually after this, we can copy this part, put it here, but instead of payload, it's going to be the user. And I believe that's it. Well, that we're saying that if payload email and payload password exist, that means we are logging the user through email and password. If that doesn't exist, that means we are sending the user. It's like a if-else statement that we established here. So if we send the email and password, we're going to verify that exists, and it's going to be logging in the user. Of course, all these sections need to be inside in a try catch. Let's do a try catch. Move all this to the try section. And we are going to console.log the error. Pretty much. Actually, we have a try catch here. Let's try it like that. Let's see what happens. We try to log in with the credentials that we created before, or simple password. It's not doing what it's supposed to. I would like to see console to see what happened. Payload is undefined. Oh, that's really simple. Let's go to the login section. And where we'll call the login, we are not sending the username and password. So we actually need to send the object. It's going to be username actually it's email, right? Yes, it's email, no username. It's going to be email, it's going to be this email, and password is going to be this password, the password that we are saving in our data. That way, when we dispatch the login, we are sending the information. So let's try again. I'm done. The user is logging in. If we go to the view tab, and we actually go to the view X, and we click load the state, we see that logging in is true, and my user is the user that we created. That means it's getting and signing in the user. Let me log out. What happened when I put like invalid user? Is it still logged me in? Let's verify why it's doing that. Okay, because we are committing, but we're not getting if the user is defined or not. We need to verify that. So in the store, we're using the login, return signed user, else return null. That means that the user didn't exist. And we can simplify this a little better. Instead of doing a simple if else, we do the one line if command. If the user exists, we're going to actually return to the beginning, and if the user exists, we're going to return this user, or we're going to return null. And we can remove all these lines and do the same. If this exists, we are going to return this. If this doesn't exist, we're going to return null, what we wanted. And let's go back to the login action. Yes, we are calling the user, but we are not committing. We are still setting up the user. So what we need to do here is, if user, we commit this. If they are not, we just leave it like that for now. So if I create a user that exists, we're being logging in, and my payload, my state, my user object exists. If I do somebody random, it stays there. It's not letting me in because this user doesn't exist. Cool. It could be nice to have some kind of banner that will actually describe us that we have an authentication error. So let's actually try to implement that. Let's go to the Beautify website. Let's get started with the documentation. Look for alerts. And we have several alerts that we can actually use by default. The one that I'm interested in is in the error alert. Pretty much this one. And it's really simple to implement. We copy the alert, type error, and with the message that we wanted. And let's put it on the main application. And let's actually do this. We establish a block element. We have the router view and we have the alert on the top. Well, actually, the alert could not be here because we need to be defining inside the B application. So let's go to the login section. So just after the application, we put the alert there. We have the alert on the top. Forgetting that low C, I don't like that. Let's remove the alert from there. Let's actually put the alert after the form. Let's see what happens. Oh, a lot better. Yeah, I believe we can actually put this alert when we try it. We will have the error. I like it. So let's leave the alert there. Let's move this to be aligned. And let's do something in the store. Let's actually have like a global error page or error element. Let's put an error object that by is going to be an object. Let's put a comma here. And let's put, actually not do an object error, let's put it like false by default, and error message is going to be an empty string. For get, let's actually create a new getter, so it's going to be called get error. And we're going to see the state, and we're going to return an object. We're going to return an object going to be error state dot, oh my god, object state dot error, and this state dot error message. We are sending both elements at the same time. We need to actually put it like a object like this. Object is going to be the state error, and the state message is going to be the error, the message, pretty much. And this should be a state. Perfect. So let's create set error state payload is going to be the payload pretty much going to be a message. That means that actually no, the error is going to be this object. We have the error element and an error message, so we're going to just put state dot error is going to be equal payload dot error, and this state dot error message is going to be equal to payload error message. That's it. And we need an action to dispatch this. So let's go to the bottom of the logout. After sign up, we will create, let's call let's actually call it setting error, and it's going to have the context and the payload. And the only things that we're going to be doing, it's really simple, is context dot commit set error with my payload. Let's keep it simple. Well, this should be like text. Perfect. So what I'm doing all that? I'm doing all that in order to get my state, have the error object in there. So when we have a login error, that means here, if the user exists, we're going to say if not, context.commit actually setting error is a dispatch, another action. When an action trigger another action, we're going to dispatch it. Dispatch, and we're going to dispatch the setting error, and we're going to be sending pretty much our text, and our text is going to be the put wrong credentials. Perfect. So if we put like random or not to indicate a user, and we're logging in, we did the set error, and we saw that we see the setting error, but the state didn't change. Let's actually see what happened. So we're doing this, the set error. Oh, we actually need to send the element that is supposed to. So we cannot send it just like this, and this should be called error message. So we actually need to send an object that's going to be error true and error message, the text. We are sending in the wrong state that is actually required for the mutation. So we try again. Probably we need to restart to pick up the changes. Sometimes that happens. There you go. On my state, error equal true, ground credential is there. We have this, and we have this in the state, and we can set in the state. Now we can enable and disable the error message depending on this information. So all this was just to go to the login page. Well, actually to a store. Let me get error. We go to the after methods. We're going to create a big computed. I'm going to call we're going to create a product called get error, and we're going to return this store getters get error. And this alert is going to be show it only if get error dot error is equal to true, and this is going to be get error dot error message is going to be posted there. So let's actually refresh. As you can see, get error, the error is false, and the message, message, this is actually called message, and the message is empty. So when we put the wrong credentials, we're setting the error and we trigger to show the alert. So now we have some kind of feedback. This is pretty cool. And now that we have this, we can actually implement it in the register too. So we have this enabled. Let's go back to the store. Now that we enable the error message, we need to dispatch something empty, like when the error is get cleared up. And we're going to clear the error every time that we're trying to do the login. When content dispatch set it error to false and empty, and then try to do the rest. And where we're doing the registration too. Sorry. Not in the register function, but in the sign up function. There you go. As you can see here in my sign up, we are not validating if the new user exists at the same time that we're using here, so we can actually do if new user going to dispatch the login, else let's actually dispatch the error. And we just copy this error object, we put it up here, true, with registration. Let's put it like that. And we are validating, and we are setting the error when we sign up. Of course, at the beginning we set the error to null, and we set the error to null in the login. And that could actually help us copy this section, the alert, and go into the register page. After the form, we paste it there. We're going back to login, and we copy pretty much all the computed element, and we can actually paste it here. So now, if we try to log in somebody with an email that already exists, error with registration. Cool. Now that we have the error with registration, we can actually move on and create the rest of the elements. Happy coding, everybody.